Dane here from Extra Credit Design Club. Today, I'm going to show you how to make pixel art in Adobe Illustrator. Creating pixel art out of vectors may seem counterintuitive, but I am here to tell you that it is the best way. Your artwork will be infinitely scalable. You'll be able to size it up or down to fit on any size of product. I've used this technique in my own work to make characters inspired by those classic video games that we all used to play as kids. Here's a giant screen print that I made using a combination of hand drawing, pixel art, and photography. I used to be cool. So let's look at some pixel art. Pixel art is awesome. It invokes a deep sense of nostalgia for those people who grew up playing the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, or even Microsoft Paint. As you can see from these images, it can be abstract, it can be representational, very simple, or it can be very complex. Okay, so step one to making your own pixel art in Adobe Illustrator. We've got to make some pixels. If you don't know about the rectangular grid tool, well, I'm here to save you. The rectangular grid tool can be found under these three dots by editing the toolbar. It's right here under the draw section. Just click on it and drag it up to where you want it to be in your toolbar. So with the rectangular grid tool selected, click anywhere on your artboard. I'm going to click right there. And you see here I have a standard square, 1080 points by 1080 points with 40 squares across and 40 squares down. So now we've got our grid. We're going to make sure that it is selected, and we're going to click on the Live Paint Bucket tool in our toolbar. With the Live Paint Bucket tool activated, simply click on your grid, and now you can see these pixels can be filled in with a paint bucket. Very Microsoft Paint. So with the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows, we're gonna toggle to our color picker. Select this color, and as you can see, you can now create pixel art. You can click on individual pixels, or you can click and drag. And if clicking on individual pixels seems arduous, well, it is. But there's a simpler way too. If you make a border like that and double click on the inside, bam, fills in automatically. Same thing if you want to change the color, bam. I've actually prepared a grid with a raster image under it so you can see how awesome this is. Okay, there's my grid. Again, I'm going to make sure that the stroke is actually at 0 so that I can do that double click trick. And this is already a live paint group, so all I need to do is hit K on the keyboard to switch to my live paint bucket. Hit Option to select your color. I picked some contrasting colors to show you this so that you could see where I was painting over the heart. And if you mess up, you just have to go to the Swatches panel and make sure that no fill is selected, and you can edit your selection like this. Okay, and then we'll hit Option again, double click, bam, add a little highlight. Delete the one behind it, and there we have our little pixel heart. To review that real quick, first use the rectangular grid tool. You make a grid, you select the grid, then you use the Live Paint Bucket tool to turn that grid into a live paint object, allowing you to click individual pixels, or to click and drag, or if the grid does not have a stroke, remember, no stroke, then you can double click on large swatches and fill it in all automatically. Next up, I'm going to show you a few shortcuts to speed up your workflow as you do pixel art. The first trick I'm going to show you is an easier way to toggle through your colors. First, select your color palette, then open the Swatches menu. Hover over this new color group at the bottom. Create a new color group called Goomba. And look at that, our colors are now a swatch group. And the cool thing about that is the Live Paint Bucket tool will read those colors. And when you use the arrow keys on your keyboard, you can cycle through the colors super easily. And now I'm just going to speed this process up so you can see. And here is our Goomba. We're going to turn off the stroke. So now we have our vector Goomba that can be infinitely scaled. So we're going to click on our Goomba. We're going to go to the top menu, go to Object, Live Paint, and Expand. Okay, what that did, if we go into this view, called Outline View, it's accessed by the shortcut Command Y. It shows you all of the vector lines. So this is what we looked like before. We had our grid of pixels, and then when we expanded it, it cropped it down to just the pixels that we painted. So now we're just left with these pixels. And I've had some problems exporting these before. Sometimes the lines show up in certain formats. So I'm going to show you one more trick. With your guy selected, open the Pathfinder tool. It should be here in your Properties panel. And we're going to use Merge. And what that did, go back to Outline View with Command Y. Here's before, a grid. When we hit Merge, it groups all of the colors that are the same together into pieces. Like this. Now, we have our Goomba, and he can be scaled tiny, or he can be scaled big, and nothing will happen to him. He's there. If you want to get more granular, you can. Here I've made a grid 100 across and 100 down that's going to give us a much higher fidelity of an image. Here's a speed version of me making this Goomba. And there's our finished guy. Same thing as this Goomba up here. How we free him from his live paint prison is we go to Object, Live Paint, Expand. We go to Pathfinder and merge the colors together. There we have our high def and our low def Goombas. I would love to see what you guys make out of your newfound pixel skills. Post your work to Instagram and tag Extra Credit Design Club. Once again, I'm Dane. I will see you next time.